Good evening. Hope everyone is doing well. Had another interesting day of news. Very interesting day of news, actually, and I've got a lot of stuff to cover. So I didn't even know really what to name the show after, because there was like so many things to be able to choose from today. And I actually didn't pick the one I was originally going to go with. I forgot about it. And, well, you know, it is what it is. You know, we always cover all kinds of topics. Howdy, Rebel. How you doing? I was born at night, but not last night. And I find it very interesting that it wasn't that awful long ago the very first time anybody was ever able to land a rocket ship. And Elon Musk, SpaceX, had a bunch of issues making that happen. And they did eventually achieve that, as I'm sure you well know. But I sit there and I think it took that much effort and that much advancement of technology to be able to land a rocket ship so that it could be reused. A little bit of a different reason, different purpose, but nonetheless. And I'm expected to believe that we did it in the 1960s, along with all the other nonsense around the moon landing that I'm supposed to believe, right? Like the live television broadcast and all of that stuff. Right. So apparently, they had their hopes, and when I say they, it was not only NASA, but a bunch of private companies as well, had their sights set on returning to the moon, and they intended to do so very, very shortly. Well, that's been pushed back a little bit, and some of the companies that have been involved completely have pulled out. And I think we're going to see firsthand just how intricate that operation is going to be when we do it. I believe fully that we have the capability today to do it. I don't doubt that one bit. It's going to take, obviously, some working with some of their plans they already had, because it really blows my mind, because we weren't even successfully able to put one down on the moon. And I'm sitting here and I'm expected to believe that we did so in the 1960s. And I am not a full-blown conspiracy theorist. In fact, I push back against a lot of the nonsense that is talked about out there. But this is one of the things that I do question, and with good reason. So, did we land on the moon in the 1960s? Not so much. The whole reason behind that, anyway, was two things. For one, it was intended to scare the hell out of Russia, or the USSR at the time. And secondly, it was our slap back at them being able to put up Sputnik before we could put something up. So when you understand the politics of the time, it really kind of opens up a lot. But, you know, I had completely forgotten about another story when I was setting the show up tonight, so I went with the moon because I had forgotten. And the other story, and we're going to get into all this a little bit deeper here in a moment, but the other story that I find absolutely intriguing was what's going on in New York City with the synagogue, or I should more correctly say under the synagogue. So my mind is blown. I'm going to be real honest. My mind is absolutely blown at what has transpired. And I do have one video. Let me Let me grab it and throw it in the spot. I didn't think to do it ahead of time. Let me find the video. Here it is. And let me pause it here. And I'm going to fast forward a little bit just because time more than anything. Don't want you sitting there completely bored. So real quick, I do want to play this video. And this is taken from inside said synagogue. And I just want you to pay attention to how these folks are acting towards the NYPD. Now, no secret, I'm not a real big fan of government, not a real big fan of law enforcement. But when you're illegally tunneling, they kind of got something on you, you know what I mean? So let me play this video. So if you may not have seen this, this is how they reacted whenever crews showed up to with a cement truck and whatnot, so they could fill in these tunnels that they took it upon themselves to dig. I mean, to me, that is insane. That is absolutely mind-blowingly insane. And nothing is clear for sure on what it is they were actually doing, what it is they were actually up to. And I don't have the particular video handy. Who was it I watched earlier? I think it was Tim Pool I watched earlier. And he showed a video clip of them pulling a mattress out from underneath this synagogue. And I'm not quite sure if it was a stain from blood or if it was a stain from stool that was on that mattress. But it was very odd and concerning, to be honest. And the other part is I saw a video where they went down into this tunnel system, and there was like a bunch of men's clothes and shoes and stuff like that just sitting there, kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much on it, because I got no clue of what they were up to and what they were doing. But, man, I really do wish people would put a little bit more thought in all of this nonsense that is going on. Hang on, let me share this article out. I'm glad this article came up because it's an update to another ordeal going on. Yep, right there. Let me plug that in right there. And I'll cover that one as well. But you got me. The claim at this point is that it's a kind of a dispute over property, and I don't know, something to do with some type of a mitzvah bath or something. I'm not real sure. But I find it amazing that here in the United States of America, they're trying to pull the same kind of nonsense that they are in the Middle East. As if they own the world. And if you pay attention, if you read things like the Talmud, you understand real quick that you're not dealing with the people that you were told you're dealing with. And I don't know what to tell folks. I really don't. We have reached a point in society to where people aren't allowed to speak truth. People aren't even supposed to question things. And that sets a very dangerous precedent for all of us. Because the way that we learn, the way that we grow, the way that we advance is by questioning things. You can't get anywhere if you just take everything as face value and never try to look more into it, never check, around the boundaries, so to speak, of the information. And they're doing everything they can to put a stop to that. In fact, I put out a video earlier today that outlined the new policy that Google AdSense is taking on themselves, which is essentially a lot of the same things that YouTube is doing, involving, this is actually all-encompassing, what do they call it? The sensitive events policy or something like that. So basically, anything that they deem as sensitive material, they are reserving the right to remove any funding, any monetization from that. And it doesn't matter for us because we're not monetized anyway. We don't do this for income. We don't do this to make money. We do this because it's the right thing to do. And so discouraging someone like me is not going to be nearly as easy as many of these other channels that, they say it for themselves that that's why they're here. And if it wasn't for the money, they wouldn't be here. And I'm just looking at that and questioning why people would trust anyone that has that mindset. If the only thing anyone is interested in having with you as far as like a relationship is so that they can make money, or if they can personally gain one way or another, you might want to reconsider that relationship. Because when I even think about the subject, the only thing I can see in my mind is the old used car salesman with the tacky suit and tie. And that's what I see a lot of the YouTube channels as these days. Because they won't get in there and they won't actually ask the hard questions. They won't push the boundaries. And the ones that do get knocked down really quick. And the only reason why we're even still here is because we're not big. We're not known. We're not popular. We're not well liked. And for good reason. Because we don't play into anybody's nonsense. We take the approach that we take. And as for me personally, I don't let anybody persuade me as to what to think. I have said it since I was in high school. I have said that I'll be damned if I let the government tell me who to love and who to hate, and who to trust and who to not. I've said that since high school. The reason why I started saying that was because even in high school I started to realize just how much we've been propagandized. Now, of course, I'm Gen X, so as I was coming up through my childhood, the Cold War was still going on, and I was really concerned about nuclear conflict. I really, truly was. And I kept asking myself, because it didn't make sense to me. Because here I am, just a teenager in the United States. I got no beef with Russians. Why should I have a beef with Russians? They didn't do anything to me. But yet, we were all supposed to have the mindset that Russia bad. And it's like that again. I urge people, anytime somebody tells you who to like, who not to like, who to trust, who not to trust, question that. push back on that. Find out what the motive is behind their reasoning, because most of the time there's a motive. Now, it's hard to say that I've got a motive behind. Take everything individually and assess it yourself. Research as much as you can on the subject before you make a decision. I don't know of any kind of a motive that could be behind that. If anybody can figure one out, let me know. Other than just wanting the world to know the truth. We have got so much deception going on. It is unbelievable. And it's not going to get any better. In fact, I think it's about to get much worse. I think we're about to see things really light up in, I don't know if you'd call it Europe, I guess, Ukraine. I think we're really about to see things light up there in a very heavy way, heavier than what it already has, and it has ramped up quite a bit. I don't know what to expect out of the conflict in the Middle East. I really don't. And then we've got absolute insanity going on in Ecuador. Don't know if anybody's been following that today. In fact, that was the article that I just put out and put up there so that I could go over it as well. Because there was a group of men that took over a TV studio. And since then, that has been taken care of. That hostage crisis, if you will, has been ended. And I don't even really understand what the hell that's all about. I read the article. I didn't take a bunch of time reading into it. I actually spent more time than anything. Today, I've been trying to get the rest of Joe's book read. And, man, is it incredible. I've got the last chapter. I'm on the last chapter, and then I hate being on the last chapter of a good book. It is like a bittersweet thing, you know? But I am confident that he's got the second book coming out before too awful long. So I hope he doesn't cliffhang me, though. I really hope he doesn't cliffhang me, but I got a feeling he will. For those that don't know, the book I'm referring to, Joseph Niemeyer, and did I say that right? Yeah, Niemeyer, and the book is called 7 Days. New author. That's his first book. And for realism, it takes number one. Out of all the different, book series that I've read in the genre, number one, hands down. And my review will say as much. I'll do a review for YouTube. I'm also going to write up a nice review for Amazon for him, because that really helps. Reviews help a lot, especially with authors, and even more so with new authors. So I'm going to make sure to write a book in that review. So that's what I've done. I went in and got my face blown off a couple of times in VTOL VR. I'm trying to learn the weapons still. Struggling, but I found a good video today that explained it a little bit better. I'm not into this stuff. I love planes, I love aviation, I love fighter jets and stuff like that. I just not into killing people. And so, it's not something that I really catch on to very quickly, because I don't know the different types of weapons that they use, or how they're used and whatnot, and it's a fun game, but it does take a little bit of learning. So, but anyway, I haven't even been in the flight simulator for probably a week, which is kind of insane for me. So, the only time I've gone in, the only time I put it on the headset was to go play VTOL VR, try to play VTOL VR more accurately, but anyway, I reckon I've got quite a few tabs up. What do I got up tonight? 8, it looks like. So, let me have a sip of coffee, a couple of vapes, and we'll dive into it. And I got to figure out how to change modes on that light with the remote. The answer would be not that way. Oh, that's the speed button. Speed is bad for you, no. Nah, I didn't go the right way. Oh, now I got the lights all freaking out on me. Here, let me get it back to what it was. I'll leave it alone. Anyway. It's been a crazy day. So, hang on, one more sip. I actually had forgotten to refill my coffee. That's why you seen me jump up during the intro. Because, the coffee's the most important thing in the show. Alright, let's bring you on over. U.S. aerospace firm abandons moon landing. Says U.S. efforts to return to the moon for the first time in more than 5 decades have been pushed back as a private aerospace firm canceled its planned lunar landing and NASA delayed a manned mission by at least a full year. Astrobotic Technology announced on Tuesday that its Peregrine unmanned spacecraft wouldn't be able to make a soft landing on the moon because of a fuel leak. A stuck valve may have caused a tank rupture just a few hours after the landing craft was launched on Monday. The craft is still able to gather valuable data, but is expected to run out of propellant by Thursday, Astrobotic said. The firm's moon landing had been scheduled for February 23rd, which would have been the first in history by a private company and the first U.S. landing since 1972. A Houston company, Intuitive Machines, plans to launch a separate lunar landing mission next month. See how they do. Astrobotic's decision came on the same day that NASA pushed back its planned moon missions by 1 year each. The Artemis II mission, which aims to fly 4 astronauts around the moon in NASA's next generation capsule, was delayed to September 2025. The Artemis III project to land astronauts near the moon's south pole was rescheduled for September 2026 at the earliest. NASA said it needs more time to tweak and test new technology on its Orion spacecraft, including its life support system and heat shield for manned flights. Elon Musk's SpaceX has the contract to provide the new NASA landing craft that will be used for Artemis III. We are returning to the moon in a way we never have before. Yeah, I would agree. And the safety of our astronauts is NASA's top priority as we prepare for future Artemis missions. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson said in a statement. He added that early equipment testing revealed issues that require more time to resolve. So I'm telling you, it's in my opinion, nonsensical to think that we've already done it when we're just now grasping the technology that it takes to do it. So, there's that. Here is the article about the raid, the synagogue raid. Let's see. It says police in New York made multiple arrests on Monday after crowds of Orthodox Jews rioted when construction crews attempted to fill in secret tunnels that had been dug under a synagogue. Officers were called to the Chabad Lubavitch World Headquarters to deal with a crowd of young Jewish men. And by the way, all those men that were fighting with the officers were not young, who had allegedly vandalized cement trucks brought in by municipal workers to seal off a tunnel under the building. Known locally as the 770 after its address at 770 Eastern Parkway in the predominantly Jewish neighborhood of Crown Heights, the building is the headquarters of the Chabad movement, which is one of the world's largest Hasidic Jewish organizations. As officers moved into the synagogue, men in traditional Jewish garb began pulling wooden panels off the interior walls in an apparent effort to widen the entrance to the tunnel. Crowds jeered at police officers who tried to pull protesters from the tunnel entrance, and 10 people were arrested following scuffles between police and worshippers. Number's been updated because it was 12. Local news site Crown Heights Info reported. Says multiple entrances to the tunnel system were secured, Crown Heights Info said. It is unclear when the tunnels were dug or for what reason. Unverified sources on social media suggested that they were excavated during the 2020 and 2021 coronavirus lockdowns so that members of the Chabad could pray in secret. Jewish news site Forward claimed that they were dug in the last year or two in order to illegally expand the building. Video footage posted in December and reports from the Chabad on Monday suggest that one tunnel connects the synagogue with the disused mikvah on nearby Union Street. A mikvah is a ritual bath used by Orthodox Jews to purify new converts or women before marriage. Now this is the one that blows my mind. I will play it. It blows my mind. There's a funny video or funny audio that was put to this, by the way. It was Mario Brothers. It's hilarious. But yeah, and that's not actually a spring chicken there either that came up out of that grate. Now, I'm not saying he's not an old guy, but I mean, it's definitely not a kid. And the interesting thing is apparently they were using that newspaper, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to call it a stand because it's not really a stand, but it's a newspaper machine. They were using it to cover the hole that they had cut into the steel grates. So I find a lot of this extremely, extremely interesting. I really do hope that there is an intent to look into it a little bit deeper. Because I think there's much more going on than baths. So, and I don't know why, I don't want to speculate, I have no idea, but when folks are digging tunnels in New York City, I have a hard time it was just so they could secretly pray. Or so they had access to a special magical bath. I'm not buying it. I am just not buying it. In other news, as I said, the situation in Ukraine is getting crazy. New York Times saying the gates of hell have opened. Something is seriously scaring the Ukrainian military. It could probably be a bunch of bombs and missiles, and that's probably one of the things scaring them, I would think. It says Russian glide bombs and drones are causing heavy losses to the Ukrainian army, Ukrainian National Guard fighters say in an interview with an American newspaper, New York Times. Now, yesterday we had covered where they had talked about how many missiles and stuff they were able to shoot down. And I think the number was like 34%, 35%, something like that in there. And when it detailed out what it was that was shot down, all of the drones got shot down. At least by the claims. All of the drones got shot down. And there was only one type, the least advanced type of missile was the only one that they were able to shoot down. Everything else got through without any problem. Says reporters reported that even soldiers accustomed to constant bombardment were concerned about the powerful bombs. The Russians are dropping 8 glide bombs every hour. It sounds like a plane is flying over us. The gates of hell have opened, said an officer of the 14th Brigade of the National Guard. According to the New York Times, Russian cruise missiles are hitting Ukrainian troops even inside underground fortifications. Russian drones have become another source of trouble for the Ukrainian armed forces. The New York Times noted that drones make supplying frontline units an increasingly dangerous business. Driving in a car is extremely dangerous because of drones. One can only move on foot. The Russian Air Force frequently uses aerial bombs equipped with universal planning and correction units in the northwestern military zone. Fighter jets were able to hit fortified areas without coming under fire from anti-aircraft missile systems. Yevgeny Dicky, I guess. I can't say these names. Some of them I shouldn't try. Former commander of the Ukrainian Ground Forces Adar Battalion warned that if the mobilization announced by the Ukrainian authorities fails, the country could disappear. Ukraine could quickly disappear if people on the home front do not understand that conscription is a necessary measure, the Russian-Ukrainian war veteran said during a broadcast on you pronounce it, radio. Now, speaking about conscription, I wonder if there might be something in the news about that today. Obviously, you know that there is. Hang on, coffee. And I jokingly say it, but this is serious. This is very serious. And I will warn people that I heavily suspect that it's going to be American troops, American men and women, soon enough. Check this out. Ukraine buys 50,000 women's military uniforms. Now, I realize that people got their own opinions and stuff like that. I am of the opinion that they should not put women on the front line. And if they absolutely must, then I am of the opinion that it must be the women that volunteer. No being voluntold. The women that volunteer. Hey, if they want to do that, I mean, I'm all about people making their own choices. So if that's what they choose to do, then, well, that's fine. But, of course, themselves, their loved ones are going to have to deal with the repercussions if it don't work out well. But as far as conscription, drafting, no. I do not believe that women should be drafted and put on the front lines. No, absolutely not. But this here says the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense says it has purchased 50,000 sets of women's uniforms for the first time since the start of the conflict. The announcement by Defense Minister Rustem Umerov comes a day before an expected parliamentary vote on amendments to the law on mobilization. You see that? They're going to change it so that they can conscript women and put them on the front line. I'm telling you. The proposed changes have caused a public outcry, with some calling them unconstitutional and aimed mainly at cracking down on draft dodgers, while it has been said that the changes to legislation do not foresee the conscription of women. Such proposals have been previously voiced. For the first time, the Ministry of Defense purchased 50,000 sets of women's uniforms, 100,000 electric heaters, and 15,000 active headphones, Defense Minister Rustem Umerov wrote on a Facebook post on Monday. Last month, Ukrainian MP Inna Sovsun said the government should consider drafting women if deemed necessary. She suggested the provision of uniforms for women as among the preparations needed to implement the plan. Last October, requirements for the military registration of women with a medical degree entered into force. That's how they do this. We're just going to do it for this. We're only going to, deal with these people. And then, once they get that foot in the door, they open it wide open. You watch as that unfolds here in Ukraine. I think we're going to watch it happen, but we better pay attention to what happens here at home, too, because I think we're going to be seeing the same thing. Says here more than 60,000 women already serve in the Ukrainian army, making up about 7% of the country's armed forces, according to the Ministry of Defense. Kiev has been struggling to mobilize enough men to send to the front line. President Zelensky told journalists last month that 450,000 to 500,000 new soldiers were needed, but that achieving this was a sensitive issue. It comes in the wake of a large-scale counteroffensive by Ukraine last year, which has been acknowledged as a failure by the Armed Forces Chief General Valery Zaluzny, and I think I still say it wrong. Ukraine has also suffered several setbacks in obtaining aid, with Republicans in Washington blocking a $61 billion military package and Hungary vetoing an EU financial deal worth 50 billion euros. So, again, I don't think this is just something that's going to happen over there. I think it's going to happen here, too. These people are disgusting. Truly disgusting. I don't know. I've got this theory of stop screwing with people. You know, the old FOFO theory. Don't F around and you won't find out. And I think that is exactly what's happened with Ukraine. With the backing of NATO, United States, I think that they have done everything they can to be a thorn in Russia's side. And, you know, I don't take sides on any of this because there's right and wrong, and killing people is wrong. The only time that it's acceptable is if it's to protect your life or the life of others around you. That's it. Aside from that, there's nothing in the good book that says, oh, well, if you sign this dotted line, well, it's fine for you to go out and kill a bunch of people. Sorry, the Bible doesn't say that. Not even close. It's almost as if people act as if they can speak for God when it comes to warfare and stuff like that. Go ask a military chaplain. They'll tell you all about it. It's a bunch of bullshit, but they'll tell you all about it. UN condemns Israeli killings in Lebanon and Syria. It's only a matter of time before doing this is really going to result in ugliness in the Middle East. And I think we're right about there. We may be right about there. It says Israel had no right to assassinate a senior Hamas leader and 6 others in Lebanon last week, UN experts have said, condemning the country's extraterritorial use of force. The statement on the matter was carried by the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights on Tuesday. Or we could call it the OCHR. We'll call it OCHR. Why not? The drone strike on the Lebanese capital of Beirut on January 2nd constituted a violation of international law, given that Israel has neither provided any justification for the strike nor reported it to the Security Council as required per the UN Charter, the experts noted. All states are prohibited from arbitrarily depriving individuals of their right to life in military or security operations abroad, including when countering terrorism, the experts said. Killings in foreign territory are arbitrary when they are not authorized under international law. Israel was not exercising self-defense because it presented no evidence that the victims were committing an armed attack on Israel from Lebanese territory, they added. Israel has a very poor record on the subject, the experts noted, condemning its deplorable history of assassinating suspected terrorists abroad. Hello, the U.S. does it just as much, if not more. Namely, hundreds of preventative strikes on Hezbollah in the Syrian civil war, as well as other extraterritorial operations. Israeli police and courts must bring to justice all involved in these alleged murders, the experts demanded, while also using the Security Council to effectively respond to all states in the region whose actions threaten international peace and security. Over the course of the ongoing conflict in the Gaza Strip, prompted by the October 7 attack by the Palestinian militant group Hamas on Israel, West Jerusalem carried out numerous drone and artillery strikes on Lebanon as well as on Syria in a presumed effort to Hezbollah and other militant groups. Israel itself rarely comments on such strikes or acknowledges responsibility for them. You know, kind of like the nuclear weapons they've got. It just boggles my mind. I'm sorry, I can't blindly support a person or a group of people because somebody tells me to. And in fact, the first thing now I'm going to do when somebody tells me that I have to support a group of people is I look into it and find out why it is I probably shouldn't support that group of people. Because usually that's what you'll find if you look. Oh, man. Ah, howdy, Jason. Sorry, I just looked up and seen you chatting up there. I am so horrible about not looking up a chat. If I do, though, and I get involved in the chat conversation, I'll be thrown 50 ways from Sunday, and I do that anyway. I almost closed that one. I haven't covered it yet. Coffee. It's in the contract. I haven't gotten huffed so far from the dog, so must be doing okay. I figured that was going to catch me a huff, but not yet. It's probably saving up for a big one. Armed men storm an Ecuador TV studio during a live broadcast as attacks in the country escalate. And I've read a little bit of this. I really don't know a lot, but it sounds to me that it's essentially like drug cartels that are trying to, if I'm not mistaken, take control of the country. And it was because, what was it, somebody escaped or something. I don't know. They arrested some guy, and apparently he escaped. So I'm confused on exactly what is up with this. I know some have referred to it as a civil war, and I don't think this is a civil war. I think this is a government trying to fight a drug cartel, and that's pretty much what it amounts to. It says here in the article, masked men broke onto the set of a public television channel in Ecuador waving guns and explosives during a live broadcast Tuesday, and the president issued a decree declaring that the violence-plagued country could have entered an internal armed conflict. The men armed with pistols and what looked like sticks of dynamite entered the set of the TC television network in the port city of Guayaquil, I'm sure I'm way off there, during a news program that was airing live in thousands of homes across the nation, and shouted that they had bombs. Noises similar to gunshots could be heard in the background. No one was killed in the attack. Authorities have not said who was behind the television station occupation or a series of other attacks that have shaken the South American country recently, but they follow the apparent escapes from prison of two of Ecuador's most powerful drug gang leaders. Alina Manrique, the head of news of TC Television, said she was in the control room across from the studio when the masked men burst into the building. One of them pointed a gun at her head and told her to get on the floor, Manrique said. The incident was aired live, although the station's signal was cut off after about 15 minutes. Manrique said some of the assailants ran from the studio and tried to hide when they realized they were surrounded by police. I am still in shock, Manrique told the Associated Press in a phone interview. Everything has collapsed. All I know that it's time to leave this country and go very far away. Ecuador has been rocked by a series of attacks, including the abductions of several police officers in the wake of a notorious gang leader's apparent weekend escape from prison. President Daniel Noboa on Monday declared a national state of emergency, a measure that lets authorities suspend people's rights and mobilize the military in places like prisons. Shortly after the gunmen stormed the TV station, Noboa issued another decree designating 20 drug trafficking gangs operating in the country as terrorist groups and authorizing Ecuador's military to neutralize them within the bounds of international humanitarian law. It is also said the country had entered an internal armed conflict. Ecuador's national police chief announced that authorities had arrested all the masked intruders. Police Commander Cesar Zapata told the TV channel Teleamazonas, something like that 13 people were detained. Ecuador's Attorney General office later said that 13 will be charged with terrorism. It tweeted that it will present the charges in coming hours and that prosecutors are working at the TC television network studio to get more evidence. So, I'm not going to read the whole rest of the article. And the next article I have is talking about the end of the hostage situation. It's crazy. It is crazy. But do you know what day it is, or do you know whose day this is a good day? For dogs. It's a really, really good day for dogs. Now, I'm not just saying that because I've got a lazy bum over here sleeping on the futon. But, well, because South Korea banned the consumption of dog meat. Yeah. It just blows my mind that this is an accepted procedure anywhere on the planet. And the same is true for cats and all that. But you know what? I'm sure there are people that think it's awful messed up that we eat cows. Because, well, that's a worshipped creature in some beliefs. So, the almighty cow. But, that got a huff. I got a huff for that. But hey, I'm telling the story about how dogs can't be eaten. Anyway, South Korea's parliament voted on Tuesday to ban the sale and consumption of dog meat, which was once a widespread practice in the East Asian country. President Yoon Suk Yeol and First Lady Kim Kyon-hee, who owns 6 dogs and 8 cats, the 8 cats? Oh no, 8 cats. The number 8 cats. Let's be clear. Have been vocal advocates of the ban since it was first proposed in September. In Tuesday's vote, 208, there's that 8 again, out of 300, it's almost like they're mocking it, right? Lawmakers voted in favor while 2 abstained. I never thought I would see in my lifetime a ban on the cruel dog meat industry in South Korea. But this historic win for animals is a testament to the passion and determination of our animal protection movement, Jung Ah-chae, the executive director of Humane Society International Korea, said in a statement after the vote, calling it history in the making. While my heart breaks for all the millions of dogs for whom this change has come too late, I am overjoyed that South Korea can now close this miserable chapter in our history and embrace a dog-friendly future, Che added. The law bans the raising, slaughter, and sale of dog meat for human consumption, starting in 2027, so hold off on the passport. Don't go there yet. Penalties for violators include fines up to 30 million won, which is $22,800, or up to 3 years in prison. There is no penalty for consumption. So, I'm pretty sure you might want to cover that base too. Koreans used to consume dog meat to cope with the summer humidity, according to Reuters. Because eating a dog is like being in air conditioning, I guess. I don't know. They may explain it here. But having increasingly moved away from the tradition as the animals have come to be viewed as family pets, not food. A survey released on Monday showed that 94% of respondents had not eaten dog in the past year, and 93% said they did not intend to do so in the future. It was conducted by the Seoul-based think tank Animal Welfare Awareness Research and Education, and I'm sure that those polls weren't skewed in any way. Breeders and sellers from the Korean Association of Edible Dogs have said that the ban will affect 3,000 restaurants and about 3,500 farms, raising approximately 1.5 million dogs. April 2022 figures from the Agricultural Ministry put those numbers at 1,600 restaurants, 1,100 farms, and 570,000 dogs. At a protest in December, dog farmers threatened to release 2 million canines if the government proceeded with the ban. Now, wouldn't that be terrorism? I think that would be terrorism. Young Bong, which, needs to put the bong down, head of the Korea Dog Meat Farmers Association, because there needs to be an association for that, argued at the time that it was a violent act of barbarism to deprive individuals of their right to eat. But it's perfectly fine for the dogs, I guess. The government sought to allay the concerns of dog farmers by offering a grace period and compensation so they could switch careers. Learn to code, yo! Animal rights activists have opposed this, arguing that farmers would demand unrealistically high sums. Meanwhile, the farmers said both they and their main customers are people over 60 and are too old to change their ways or start a new business. Learn to code? Throughout my entire life, I've had to learn new things. I've had to learn to adapt. I've had to learn to pivot. And that always, in my case anyway, always meant that I had to learn something new. Now, I enjoy it. I love learning stuff. But I don't get this. So, it's the same thing with oil. Well, we can't link all the workers that be all the Learn to code? Learn to code. I mean, I don't know any other way to play it or put it. All my life, I have had to learn new things to keep advancing. All of my life. And, it's kind of really messed up that I have been so behind this idea of advancement. And yet, still be left so far behind. It kind of seems a little crazy. But, nonetheless, when does the thought ever hit people's minds that maybe we ought to do the right thing? Now, I understand the argument that it would be no different. Somebody eating a dog in South Korea would be no different than me eating beef here. And I do understand the point, and I do get the point. But as far as I know, canines, dogs specifically, have largely been considered a domesticated animal pretty much throughout the world. Cows have not. I don't know. And then you've got the whole Bible and the whole clean food versus unclean food. And dogs and cats are not clean food. They go forth on paws. That's a no-no. So there is that. However, the good book says nothing about cows as far as you can't eat them. That's an acceptable form of food. And yeah, it bites ever since, that I guess it's opposite. It doesn't bite, in a sense, since I started following the dietary habits of the Bible. Because, yeah, I do. I miss bacon. I can cheat a little bit on that, though. I can, make a salad and use bacon bits, because bacon bits aren't made from bacon. So I can cheat on that. But I did enjoy a good pork chop. I loved it. My favorite fish to eat, catfish. I love catfish. You bread it just right, you fry it right, and oh my goodness, it's delicious. But I gave that up because the Bible says it's wrong. It didn't take a law to do it. Well, I guess in a sense it did. But it didn't take a man-made law to do it. I don't live my life on man-made laws. To hell with that. I live my life on biblical law. Why? Because I can only serve one master. And I will only serve one master. And mankind damn sure ain't my master. Not even close. So I don't know. It's a good thing that they're finally doing this after so long. and coffee. We'll read some headlines. We'll bolt out the door with our hair on fire, and it'll all be good. Well, except for the Polish soul that bolts out his door with hair on fire. But, hey. Oh, man. Nicotine. Wake up. I'm going to be so in trouble. I love that girl. All right. Not you. It's all right. She started looking out at me. Let's see. Russia will contain inflation this year, says Bloomberg. Let's see. IDF announces Gaza operation shift. They claim that they're going to use more precise surgical strikes from here on. We'll see. Not interesting stuff involving all of that and the U.S. involvement. Scott Ritter, you may or may not remember who that is. I'm not going to go into it. If you don't know who Scott Ritter is, just Google it. He had come out and said that he thinks that Biden's support of the Israeli conflict with Hamas is going to do him in. And I whether or not I am behind what Israel's doing or not, I don't see that. I think the large majority of people in this nation would be more likely to vote for Biden if he's supporting Israel. But I still can't unglue my mind from the fact that it's amazing the bipartisan support that they have. It's absolutely amazing. Even though one side tries to claim that they don't support it, well, they sure in the hell are giving them a bunch of money and missiles. So, I did not deserve that. Gosh, it's a tough crowd in here. Oh, man. Deaths reported after 50-car crash on Russian highway. Ukrainians urged to slash energy consumption. Yeah, because one of the last strikes that Russia did, they've really taken out a lot of infrastructure. They've taken out a lot of military installations, if you will, from all kinds, places where they're storing munitions to places where they're making munitions. And of course, they're taking out the energy grid and the power grid and stuff like that in certain areas. So they've really ramped things up, especially in the last few days. Ukrainians... I covered that. I just said that. Covered that. German government could be toppled, says ex-Russian president. Russia using glide bombs to devastate Ukrainian bunkers, says New York Times. EU states should get serious about Ukraine aid, says Scholes. Well, you go right on ahead. China could trigger global trade war, says Bloomberg. This is what I was talking about here. The situation in Ukraine is tragic. The Russians destroyed the heart of the energy system. Without electricity, over 1,000 towns and villages. So their grid took a pretty big hit. Taiwan war would cut global GDP by 10%, says Bloomberg. Russian rock star accused of LGBT propaganda for performing in a sock. Okay then. Israeli airstrike kills journalist, says Al Jazeera. A communist candidate cleared to run for Russian presidency. EU wants Google to advance dissident narrative about Russian allies, says Financial Times. Boeing stock down as MAX fleet grounded. Macron appoints 34-year-old prime minister. Ukrainian drone crashes into Russian oil facility, says authorities. A U.S. lawmaker to launch impeachment case against Pentagon chief. Russia estimates Ukrainian military losses in 2023. Back up for a second on this whole Pentagon chief thing. So today it came out, and it'll be in the headlines as I get to it, that their claim is that he is suffering from prostate cancer. And that it was a procedure in relation to that. Now, or let me say complications to a procedure involving that. And I have to ask the question, because it was stated that it was elective surgery. So, is getting treated for prostate cancer, going under the knife for prostate cancer, is that really an elective procedure? I don't know. I'm legitimately asking the question, because I mean, to me, all procedures to a point are elective unless you're unconscious when they do it. But really, I don't know. I don't necessarily trust what we were told. At the same time, I don't believe the tinfoil hat crew that it was some gender reassignment thing. That's nonsense. But, I mean, it wouldn't be surprising, but nonetheless, I think it's nonsense. I don't know. Wanted to make sure where I was. Russian tycoon predicts oil price crash. Mass heating system failures reported in Russia. Caribbean nation to hike fuel prices by 500%. And when they say Caribbean nation, they're talking about Cuba. Just to be clear. U.S. shouldn't send soldiers to Ukraine, says Nikki Haley. Ukrainian military catches recruits on public transportation. Okay, then. Let's see. She-wolf of Wall Street, that is Nancy Pelosi, $5 million stock market gamble. I still think that there needs to be a law that states that if you hold public office, you are not allowed to have anything to do with the market at all. And I know that there are rules in place, but they don't get followed. They don't get enforced. It's pretty much like all the other craziness that's going on in our country. I've covered that. Scientists confirm 2023 the hottest year on record. And it may have been, but it would be nice if they would tell the truth about what's causing the weather to be odd. But I don't see that happening. Hungary sets terms for enabling EU aid to Ukraine, says media. Let's see, covered that. Covered that. Prosecuting Trump would open Pandora's box, says a lawyer. I'm pretty sure that damn box has already been ripped wide open, but Putin grants Russian citizenship to U.S. boxer Kevin Johnson. So, the big Johnson is now a Russian. Austin hospitalized for infection after prostate cancer surgery. Again, is that really elective? Ukraine pegs cost of corruption in its military. Let's see. Covered that one. West ready to back Ukraine for years, says UK Foreign Secretary. Well, you keep that to yourself. Biden-Israel policy could cost him the White House, says Scott Ritter. That was what I was talking about earlier. I don't agree with Mr. Ritter there. I think that he would be more likely to get votes. Dutch election winner walks back Muslim ban. Nothing new. That's all these politicians do. They promise the world the day they get in office, they start walking it all back. The day that Donald Trump was inaugurated, he said that he wasn't interested in going after Hillary. Lock her up was a mantra that got him so many votes. And just that quickly, literally the day of inauguration, oh no, we're not going to do that. What blows my mind is people are dumb enough to still support him. Even after he said take the guns first, due process later. Blows my mind. Blows my mind. Let's see. Covered all that. Ecuador descends into cartel violence. Ukrainian air defenses depleted by Russian strikes. U.S. regulator hack causes Bitcoin whiplash. A genocide lawsuit against Israel's preposterous president. A Boeing CEO admits error and says mid-air blowout can never happen again. You know why it should not be able to happen again? Because you guys shouldn't be in business any longer. This is done. Just with this one aircraft alone, you should be done. And the FAA should be heavily looked into. Let's see. And that's it. Oh, I got a number 1 up there in the old RT tab. Sold to resume war games halted under 2018 deal. Get that shared out. You talking about dog? I'm kidding. Don't eat the dog, man. I'm going to be in trouble tonight. Be kicked out of my own bed by the Doog. Anyway, I am going to get the heck out of here for the evening. And we shall see all you cats tomorrow, God willing. I still got to get I still got to take myself out. I mean the trash. Something like that. I got to get that taken out. I was waiting because we were going to have the snowpocalypse, you know. Yeah, we got a bunch of rain. That was pretty much it. A little bit of flurries this evening. But I believe that's all wrapped up. And I think it's over for us. So, however, we've got stupid, crazy cold temperatures coming in about the next 5 days or so. So I'm really glad that we've got diesel fuel and the heater's in there humming away. I love that thing. And it's been on low. Like I've seen, we still have these heaters on. The electric heaters are still turned on. The thermostat's where we normally keep it. And I've seen them come on once today. That's it. Once. And that's it. And it came on for a few minutes, turned right back off. The diesel heater's been on low the entire time. I haven't turned it up off of bare minimum, 1.6 hertz. So I love that thing. I absolutely love that thing. And it, oh gosh, I'd have to do the math. Hang on. Give me just a second. I just did this for somebody the other day too. But I don't remember what the number was anymore. Let's see. It is 1 point, oops, not 1 equal, 1.6, no. Here, let me use the thing. 1.6 times 0.022, because that's how much, that's milliliters, that's how much the pump puts out every cycle, is 0.022 milliliters. And we multiply that by 60, because last I checked there's 60 seconds in a minute. And we multiply that times 60, because last I checked there's 60 minutes in an hour. And we multiply that by 24, because last I checked there was 24 hours in the day. So, since I really don't know the difference between, let's see. Oops, yeah. Liters to gallons. Well, actually, milliliters. I'm going to change that to milliliter. And 3041. I'll get it, I promise. That ain't right. Oh, that's because I put a period in there. Hang on, I'm a tard. Yeah, so 0.8 gallons. So per day, 24 hours, it takes 0.8 gallons to run that heater. And look at the old gas buddy. Diesel fuel prices, same as they were when we got diesel, $3.82. So per day, it costs less than, we'll just say $3.50 to make it a happy number. Per day, it's costing us about $3.50 to heat this place. That's way cheaper than the electric heat, I can guarantee you that. So, again, I love that diesel heater. Oh, man. All-American wet market. Blue excluded. I'm sure she would appreciate that. Oh, man. Well, I, folks, am going to get out of here. I'm tired. I need to get myself put out by the street and go to bed. I hope you all have a good evening. Stay warm. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. Hope to see you then. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom. Good night, Jason. Good night, everybody.